Well, my head is just sort of spinning this morning, and so I'm just going to unload it on you. I'm not as prepared as I wanted to be, so I'm just going to go ahead and have you sit down and explain to you what's going on. Today we're in Parashat Toldot, the history of Yitzchak, Isaac. And for your, if you'd like to turn there, it's Genesis 25:19 through 28:9. You remember last week we had a little bit of an issue with our car, a flat tire. Well, this morning, on the way into the congregation, I had another flat tire. God is pretty funny that way. So one of my shoes lost its sole on the way in. And I'm sure there's a lesson for us in that, or it wouldn't have happened. I actually purchased these boots in 1987, so they've done pretty well. And for the recording, this is 2011. So I'm sure there's a lesson for us in that. And I think it's in the brothers, Jacob and Esau. Now all week, every week I go over the Torah portion, I read it, I pray about it, and I ask God one thing. Let the congregation hear what you want them to hear. That's really all I'm after. I just want you guys to hear, God's people to hear, what He wants you to hear. And so that's my prayer this morning, because I'm just going to unload some stuff, and it isn't going to probably make much sense to me for you, but God can make it make sense to you. I couldn't figure out a single thing all week that made any sense to share with you. Not that there's not always plenty to talk about, but that's a different thing than feeling like this is really what God has for you. That's where I need to feel before I come up here. And this morning I woke up, dark 30 in the morning. And again, because I didn't have anything to share with you, and I said, God, I just don't see the connection, because I always believe there's a connection to Yeshua. And God, I just don't see the connection. What is it? And I guess I was just tired enough and still enough to hear Him, because right then I hear very clearly, it's in the soup. It's in the soup. So I started looking at the soup. Okay, let's read about this. It's kind of a really short piece of the story. So we've got in Genesis 25, verse 24, we have Rebekah giving birth. The first to come out, she had twins. The first to come out was reddish and covered all over with hair, like a coat, so they named him Esau, completely formed, already having hair. Then his brother emerged with his hand holding on to his brother's heel. So he was called Yaakov, or he catches the heel. He supplants. He takes the place, right? And Yitzchak, or Isaac, was 60 years old when she bore them. And then it goes directly from birth to they grew up. All of a sudden, they're all fully grown. In verse 29, one day, when Jacob had cooked some stew, Esau comes in from the open country, exhausted, and says to Jacob, please let me gulp down some of that red soup. I'm exhausted. And this is why he was called red. And so Jacob answers, first sell me your rights as the firstborn. So it says, Esau says, look, I'm about to die. What use to me are my rights as the firstborn? Jacob said, but swear to me. So he swore to him, thus selling his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave him bread and lentil stew. He ate and drank, got up and went on his way. Thus Esau showed how little he valued his birthright. This is it. It's in there somewhere, so I got to look for that. It's in the soup. That's what I heard. Well, what's going on here? We've got one brother and another brother. One of them is trying hard to get what the other one has. The other one doesn't seem to care much about it until later on. But there's a picture, I think, here of what we're supposed to be doing. We're all brothers. We're all brothers in this world, right? And the one says to the other, give me some of your soup. I don't care about my birthright. What's our birthright as human beings when we're born on this earth? The only thing we really earn is death. That's the only thing we really have any right to. Our birthright as human beings is death. But he doesn't say, and this is what I found so fascinating, he doesn't say, give me some of your soup. There's 3 times this is mentioned. His brother was cooking soup. He served him soup. And in the middle he asks him for soup, right? But in the middle he doesn't. That's just what our English translators have put in because it was before and after, so they just put it in the middle. But he doesn't say, give me some soup. He's willing to give up his birthright in order to get some of what Jacob has. And what he says is, give me that red stuff. Give me some of the red. And in that Edom word is dam, blood. That's the red stuff. He's willing to give up his birthright in favor of the red stuff. That's our picture. Who's Jacob's other name? What's Jacob's other name? Israel. And we are willing to give up our birthright, which is death, to ask Israel, ideal Israel, for some of his red stuff. Now in this story, 2 brothers. One holds on to his soul. And I'm not trying to be silly with that. It's just on the way in. That's what happened. It had to mean something. We give up our birthright, which is death, in favor of the life that he pursued so much. He was willing to, and his name is the supplanter. Well, what does Yeshua do for us? He supplants us. He takes our place. And I am just so thankful for that.